Welcome to Sons of the Warrior, episode 7.
Yes.
7.
For heaven.
Speaking of my favorite letter of the alphabet,
Q.
17.
The
Q
17th
time.
letter from the A.
But we're on episode 7.
yeah, but 17 is my favorite letter of the alphabet, and I won't get into why it's my favorite. I'll leave that to all those that also have their favorite letter. 17.
Man.
Leave it to them to do what?
I'll let them
Enjoy
I'll
that
leave
they
it to
have the
us.
same favorite?
Us that
Hey,
know,
if you
we
know, comment in the comment section.
sure.
I know.
I know all about
and then,
it.
And then we'll know that you know.
That I know.
That I know
you
that
you
that
know.
we know.
That you know.
That you know.
Yes.
We know.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, and y'all don't need to even hear about it because we already know about it. No,
Yeah.
I mean,
And if
anyways,
you don't, you will.
Hey.
Anyways,
if you-
let's get to real stuff.
Yeah.
Leave that to the
Johnny.
side.
So what's
What you been
your
doing?
new gun you're getting?
Okay.
All the questions.
I'm only gonna answer one of those.
This
I'm playing the fifth.
is the Ruger Vaquero.
Oh,
45 caliber. Single action.
I was about to say, does a single action Vaquero come in another caliber? They
357,
do. They
yeah.
do, but that's not real ones.
357.
I think that you can even get it the convertible with the 9mm, which would be pretty sick because pretty much all the ammo I've got is either 5.56 or 9mm.
Go to
300 blackout, 300 Win Mag,
that's pretty much amazing.
338 Lapua.
50 BMG.
We're just throwing out gun facts.
No, we're just talking about 22 LR.
AK-47.
Gotta have that 22. What are the
Grenade
calibers?
launchers.
Really? I mean, I got rid of my 7.62 by 39.
Say that
I still
again.
7.62 by 39.
Yes, thank you. You knew what I was talking about.
Yeah, I know all about
I really just don't shoot my AK that much, so I sold it and I got something else.
it. I'll be
It
honest
was
with you.
an awesome AK.
You know what
I
I
don't-
miss shooting? My 300. That thing was so fun to shoot.
300
I thought you said, but you don't miss shooting.
Win Mag? Which one? What'd
The
you
only
have?
one I had. I don't know this is
So
specifics.
specific.
All I know is a 300 Win Mag. That's it. But it
That's
was fun to
good.
shoot.
That's all you do
Like, it's
need
one
to
of
know.
Them long
big
distance
bullets,
shots
You know
are
what I'm talking about?
Hey,
That's all that matters.
I tried to take my 300 Win Mag out to a mile. I got to 1,000 yards and then had to switch to the 338.
Ooh.
I did.
Oh,
get to
338
La Blua. La Blua. No, I did get to shoot a mile with my 338. And if you...
The problem is, not the problem. The question is, did you hit the target?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did not just shoot at...
Anybody could shoot a mile.
No, it was
Aim up
it was
and pull
one
the
of the
trigger.
coolest shooting experiences of my life.
That's awesome.
You got a video of it?
If it wasn't on the video, it didn't happen.
That's what they say.
Wow.
In the gym.
Is that what they
They
say?
said don't even talk about a PR if you don't have it on video.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah.
Tree
Use
falls in the
those.
woods and nobody was around to hear it, did it?
Did it even
Did it
fall?
No, I may have a video of me shooting it, but I don't have a video of like me shooting and hitting the target.
I like those videos where it goes boom.
Exactly.
You see a little trail.
Yeah, that takes a long time to set up because I've tried to set those up. Those people actually have some
You
experience.
know what was fun was the little targets that you did get the other day, though.
Oh yeah, we did some
David
Texas tree,
Oh, is that what they call it?
Texas star. Yeah,
Yeah,
The
little
Texas
spinning-
star.
them
yeah,
things were
not
fun.
Texas
We
tree.
we got two of
I
them so
suck,
you could
but they
duel
were
each
fun.
other.
See who
Yep.
could shoot their star the fastest.
The fastest.
The firstest.
So
I
let
was
me-
gonna say firstest, but then that's not a word. So the fastest.
Extra most bestest.
Yeah, whatever. You.
Redacted.
Okay.
Redacted.
Wow.
what
Anyways,
just
let me tell
happened.
you about what these targets do.
Animals.
They
Oh,
got
I
little
thought you-
steel round targets all the way. There's like 5 of them on each,
Do we
but they're
have
on
any
a
videos?
Yeah, we
a
have some
little
videos. I'll put some
spinning
videos.
windmill. That once you shoot one, it gets out of balance, so it starts spinning. Bing, 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 and you gotta shoot them all off. It's actually pretty good.
It's
Shooting moving targets.
Yes,
It's fun.
It separates
It
the
is
men
very,
from the boys.
It
for
is
sure.
very challenging. You think you're
I
a
don't
good
know if
shooter?
it really separates the men from the boys. It's more just a.
No, don't say luck. It is not
Good
luck.
practice.
It is.
No, I never said it was. It's just
Oh,
good
you were-
practice. Separating the men from the boys is. That's a little
That's-
more extreme, I think.
Go. Well, the men shooter from the boys shooter.
Oh no.
Boys to men. Happens at the Texas Star.
It happens there.
No,
If you lose, you play pickleball.
no. Oh no. No, I feel like because a lot of people can shoot and hit like
Steel targets.
I don't want to shame any shooters because if you are out there putting time down range, if you are putting time into your weapon, you are doing great. But if you come in with a silhouette target and you're like, oh, see, I hit the target.
Yeah.
That's not.
Let's hope.
I hope you hit that silhouette every time.
That's not that good. Yeah.
If you're missing the silhouette, then we have because really to shoot 7-10 yards with a handgun is not hard. Now, shooting little tiny targets at 7 to 10 yards becomes harder. And that's where you work on precision and narrowing your groups down so where you can consistently hit.
Good trigger press, fundamentals, grip,
Yes.
pressure.
All the fundamentals.
Yeah.
I like
And
that.
so, but encourage people, get out there and shoot because that is a perishable skill.
Yeah, shoot like your
And
life depends on it.
when when we were out shooting, it was like they were doing their reloads and they had the reloads down because you got to practice your reloads on the old out and about. But
Yeah, we did a lot.
actually pulling the trigger was
That's what I was like, damn.
it's in your mind you're like, oh, it's like Wii bowling when you are doing this is dating me, but when we used to play the Wii, you would be really good and you're like, oh, I'm a good bowler. And then you go to an actual bowling alley and you try and bowl and you're like, oh my gosh, I am terrible at this. Maybe that was not a good analogy.
It wasn't.
Well, I'm it's just showing that you were actually thinking that you were good at it by playing a video game.
Right.
But Gabe
yes.
is a good bowler.
I actually
Yeah.
I don't want to say I'm a good bowler because there are good bowlers out there, but I had an over 200 average. So.
There's this one time, I'll tell you a little story for free, but I was out there bowling with the boys, really throwing the pigskin out there. And anyways,
That's football.
yeah, y'all don't know about it.
Football.
Anyways, so I roll this sucker
Bobby
down
Boucher.
there. Boom, it explodes. I mean, they start, the little pins, they start flying everywhere. I ended up throwing it one time and knocking them all over. Yeah, it really happened. I don't actually have a video of it, but I knocked them all over in one roll.
Yeah, it's called a strike.
Yeah, but it was cool because y'all
Only
don't know about
impressive
it.
if you do.
Because you did it with a football.
But
Now,
anyways,
if you did that like 5 or 6 times in a row, that would be pretty impressive.
yeah, nobody does that. Anyways, that was a story that I had. Y'all don't have to believe it, but it really did happen.
It did happen.
Yeah.
That's good. That's like my uncle, my great uncle. You don't know if he was exaggerating the truth. He said he bowled 101.
Man,
Yeah.
almost a perfect game.
No, that's over a perfect game.
Oh,
You can
how do
only
you
get
have a
over
101, you mean 300?
301.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was about to say,
I'm going to say I bowl
was
better
like,
than that.
I think that's really bad. Maybe he was under exaggerating.
I don't even like
messed
bowling.
the joke up. He bowled a 300 and then won. I had to explain the joke for Lum.
301.
Okay, just so you know, that is one thing that I hate. When people tell jokes and then they think they have to explain it. If it needed explaining, it's not a good joke.
That's true.
And
That's
also, it takes away from the people that do get it.
true. The
And
joy
then
that they
yeah,
have.
it's like, oh yeah.
No, I like it. I'll explain
they'll
it. The guy I work with, he's an older guy and doesn't say too much, but I'll say little jokes and then make sure I explain them to him. He thinks it's funny because I explained the joke,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Yeah, I got it the first time." You don't. I'm like, I'm making sure. This
It
is-
was so much
Damn
better.
it.
The leftovers in the fridge, I loved them.
What?
anyway,
It's
let's get
funny
to the
'cause
real
it's
stuff.
leftovers.
The meat of the story.
What's everybody been
What
doing?
is the okay?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What?
Okay, go ahead, continue.
Working and practicing.
Yeah, the other day someone was asking me, they're like, what do you do? And I'm like, I work and work out, and that's it. And then they're like, well, that sounds boring. I'm like, I love it. Every day I
Love
get
it.
up
End
and
of the
work,
story. No.
work out, and then
That's
I
what I'm
go
about.
to work.
I did a leg day the other day that is killing me. Like my hammies
Ham bones.
and quads are firing on all cylinders right now.
That's awesome.
That's like a 22 RE. You know what I'm saying?
Some of us that were in the DC jail,
muscle.
we also call us the DC muscle. Anyways, we've been doing the DC 500, which is 500 burpees as fast as you can do them. And I haven't done any, tried to do that much cardio since I've been out of jail, just because we did so much in jail. And I've been trying to stick to weights, but we did it.
Who's got the record right now?
Oh my goodness.
Tate
it was
blew everybody out the
terrible.
water.
It hurt so
Tate's
bad.
been sticking with his
What was
cardio.
it?
Yeah, he did it
What?
under an hour.
That's awesome.
Dang.
Now I know what I got to do.
Yep.
Easy.
Now you know what
Under
you
an
have to do.
hour.
I doubled it and then was like, yes.
Hey,
But
That's
anyways,
what they
it's
say. Double it
not
or pay
fun.
it forward.
That's
Or-
right. I paid.
take the
I
money or
paid for
double
it.
and
That's
give
what
it
we'll
to
just say
somebody else.
that.
Yeah.
Couldn't like raise your hands over your arms for a couple days, but
Golly, it's terrible. But
Yeah.
anyways, what is the verse of the day? I know you
I've got
had
a
it there.
verse. Yeah.
Let's hear it.
This one, it's sort of going back to last week, talking about, was it last week or the week before?
Sure,
that?
last week.
Talking
Tell us the
about
verse first.
John 20:29. Jesus said unto him, Thomas, because thou hast seen me, thou hast believed. Blessed are they that have not seen and yet believe. Just talking about seeing the miracles that Jesus performed in y'all's lives, and just over the last few years, got to see that firsthand experience. We had somebody in the shop, actually it was earlier today, just talking about faith and different things, and getting to see the Lord work personally in front of you. It doesn't take faith after that to believe, because you've seen him work. You've seen the miracles right there in front of him, just like Thomas got to see Jesus's nails in his feet and his side. It didn't take faith for Thomas to believe at that point, because he had seen. It did take faith, don't get me wrong, but it didn't take as much. There was no blessing because you hadn't seen. And I think it's just neat to know that we still have a God that still performs those miracles. And so we were trying to talk to him and share with him just some of the things that we had seen in our lives, speaking faith from experience, speaking to him from our life experience, and just trying to share truth with him. And I don't want to say that he didn't receive it well, but it was a sort of a conflict. There was a discussion there, and he's like, well, that's just your personal experience. And I'm like, yes, but that's what we have to go on. We have God's word.
that's what our testimony
That is,
yeah.
there in front of us, and we have to take God's word as truth, because if we don't, then what do we have? What foundation do we have? But we also have our personal experience, and this is something that I'm telling you, and you can either take it as, oh, well, he was just delusional, or this didn't really happen, but if I'm a trustworthy enough witness, if my character speaks loud enough that you can believe what I say, maybe you can take what I'm saying as truth, as some element of truth. Hey, he actually experienced this. This is something that he's sharing personally with me. Hey, maybe I'll give it some credence. I'll give it some credit. And I feel like that's so important, being able to share with people from your own life story, your own testimony. And it's important and that's why I think we have to live out in front of people.
No, for
That's
sure.
That's why it's important to do that, because if you can't speak from personal experience, and sometimes we can't, there's things in life that we've not experienced and we don't have any experience there. But if you have areas that you can speak personally, you can be much more passionate and you can be much more assertive, because you know it to be true. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to question, is this really true? Is what I'm saying actually backed up by God, by truth? And it's like, yes, because here's my testimony, and here's where I experienced that, and so it adds more power, and it adds
Right.
And I think, like you were saying before, like living it out. When you live that in your life, or not just lived your testimony, but when you are faithful through your life, it's like you keep that good name. Like people are more likely to listen to what you have to say because you have character. You have, almost proven yourself to be consistently trying to live the best that you can. Otherwise, like if you're constantly like back and forth all over the place, people aren't really going to listen to what you have to say as much. I mean, they will when things happen, but it means so much more when you actually, you have that older person or the one you kind of look up to. You look up to them because they've been consistent. They've been honorable through their life.
Yeah.
And you're learning from them. I think that's why it wrecks a lot of people when like those big pastors and those big
Big name evangelists.
when they go and they
Mess up their testimony.
they mess up their testimony, or they go have an affair with somebody or something, and it wrecks so many people's lives because they have looked up. And this, I guess, that kind of goes off the subject, but that does wreck because they have looked up to that person. But then that's where it's so important to look up to God as your ultimate line of standard, because men are going to fail.
Yeah.
People are going to fail. And if you're constantly just looking at the person, they mess up, it's going to wreck you if that's all you're looking at. When you look at God and somebody else messes up, you're going to be okay. And you're going to be like, I mean, it's going to be sad, but if you have your focus on that.
You understand they're only human, and yes,
right.
They may
we all mess up.
They may be a pastor, they may be in a place of authority, but they're not God.
Yeah.
And when you put them in the place of God, and sometimes it's the pastor's own fault, for not really explaining that and not differentiating, but it is also our,
it's our personal responsibility. Yeah.
fault for putting them on that pedestal. Because I've talked to so many people that have been hurt by the church or by different people, and it's like they put their faith. Oh, so I can never go to church again because somebody did me wrong.
Somebody
And
at
it's like,
church
well, that's a human being. And yes, they claim the banner of Christianity. They claim that responsibility. You are an ambassador for Christ. Right. That's what Dad always would tell us when we would leave the house. You're an ambassador for Christ, so go represent. Not only are you representing your family, but you're also representing Christ. So when they hurt somebody under the banner of Christianity, it hurts everybody. But they are only human. Christ was not the one hurting you. Christ, he went to the cross and he died for you. He gave the ultimate sacrifice. He wasn't the one that did you wrong in that situation. And when we put those people in that position, it can bring pain.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's actually in Revelation here. It's chapter 12. So it kind of, just to give a little premise, it kind of talks about Christ coming into the world, and his, death and resurrection. And when he comes, it says when he comes into the kingdom, he cast out the devil, right? So it says, for the accuser of the brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. And they loved not their lives unto death. And, but just Revelation, it's sitting here, it says, you overcame them by the word of their testimony. So their testimony was so important when it comes to fighting the devil, right? And the influence I think he has on others, right? In this battle that we wage, right? Because we're warriors, like we're called to be. You're in a constant spiritual battle, right? That your testimony, it's so important that God uses it for that war. He uses it for the salvation of others. That's how that's how I'm reading it. And then also that they love not their lives unto death. So their testimony was so strong, their faith was so strong that many, and we can read about them in Fox's Book of Martyrs, the apostles, all of them met an untimely, unfortunate death. But it's not because they go to heaven, but they didn't live out full lives. I think the only one who did was John And he didn't live an awesome, like, I mean, it was fine, but like he was a prisoner, he was boiled, he was, stranded on an island, but their testimony is what is important, that they never faltered, they never gave up.
Yeah.
They always held strong to the truth. And what does that do? It perpetuates faith in others, right? Because they see and they witness men who did amazing things for God.
Yeah.
They get to witness what John did, what Peter did, how they fought fearlessly before others for the word of Christ. Men don't do that if it's not real.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's fake,
You don't
why are you?
die for fake. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, and that's what I think is neat. We look at Job and how Satan used, I feel like sometimes he uses people to try to, poke at God. Say, look, nobody's willing to serve you over the things I can give them. Everybody will fall. Even this man, even the best you have, even Job, I'll make him fall. I'll show you that nobody's willing to actually serve you. And Job had no clue how serious that moment was and how all of hell was breaking loose around him. He lost everything, but it was all to prove that, men through Christ, they can go through life and stand strong. They don't have to give in. And because of that testimony, even his friends were just like, just curse God and die. This is ridiculous. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And he's like, I will not.
Yeah,
I'll go all the way until the very end because Christ is that important to me. And yet God used that story, his testimony throughout all of history, to show people that, you can outstand the devil. You can be strong enough. And I think that's neat, when we look at our lives and things are going bad, you got to think, I wonder if Satan's just trying to prove to God, look, this guy that you thought it was going to stand for you, I'm going to throw some things at him and he's going to fail just to get after, Christ. And it's and when we do fail, it's almost like, man, I wonder what was going on behind the scenes, there's such powers going on around us that we may never understand until, Christ comes back or until God calls us home. But the more you think about that, the more you kind of picture life in a bigger way than just your monotonous day to day, work schedule, whatever it might be, but realizing that you are so much more important than that. You have such a more worthy cause to live for than what this world tells you that you're worth, I guess.
Oh yeah, you're just here for a little bit. You're gonna have fun, and then you're gonna die, and you're gonna meet. Everybody's gonna forget you, but like your testimony does mean a lot.
It means
like
so
in
much.
Jail,
what you do in this life,
how much those stories and those different accounts of other people that had gone through it. I had read Corrie ten Boom's story while I was in there, and it was like when I was in solitary confinement. She went through I think there was a time where right when she got arrested, it was almost just like when I got arrested. She went through 15 days and she was little tiny things that God, I think she befriended a mouse or something and she would feed the mouse. And then anyways, God worked through little tiny things. She was able to pass and see her sister just for a second. And it just kind of I related so much to it because it was just like when we get to see each other in passing in the hallway, it just they're holding strong, you better hold strong. And then different stuff they were even thankful for the fleas that they had in their dorm because the fleas were so bad the guards wouldn't come in there and bother them so they could have their Bible study. And because they had smuggled the Bible in and had that one Bible and they treasured it. And so their whole dorm could gather and have Bible study because they had so many fleas. And I was thinking I have a clean bed. I have a room to myself. I have so much to be thankful for. People always have it worse, I guess. And so that's what encouraged, it was their testimony is what encouraged me. And so that's what, you could have that. Paul had written that verse in the Bible that says, rejoice evermore. He wrote it while he was in jail. Or I think he was in a dungeon. I can't remember exact scenario I had. But anyways, I was like, if he can say that, and that's why I wrote it on my wall. If he can say that there, I can say it you know, no matter what you're going through, you can rejoice.
Yeah, and I think he was encouraging people who are not in jail.
Yeah,
He's like,
no.
believe me, guys, this is good. You guys are having a great right now. You know, just
I
He
watched
was
a,
encouraging people they were not in jail, but he was still
no. I say
saying that.
encouraging.
Yeah.
yeah.
While he was in it.
I watched this video the other day, and it was talking about where the Lord's saying He will not. I think they were using 1 Corinthians 10:12 or 10:13. There is no temptation taken you, but such is common to man. God is faithful; He will not suffer you to be tempted above that which you are able. And He's like, you know, God will never give you more than you can handle. And they were like, oh no, that's not true. He's going to give you more than you can handle, so you lean on Him. And I'm like, but then it is true. He doesn't give you more than you can handle, because you're supposed to lean on Him for the strength. But why would you say it's not true? Because we should be leaning on Him all the time, you know. Now, He will give you challenges. Like, I couldn't imagine going through what Job did.
Oh, yeah.
And losing everything and trying to live out your faith in that, you know. We have it so easy here in America. You hear the stories of, like, the Fox's Book of Martyrs, and you hear the stories of the other heroes of the faith, and you're like, wow, how, comparing that to our life, well, somebody cut me off on the road, so I've just lost my testimony because, you know, and it's like our problems are so mundane, and yet we make excuses. Oh, well, you just, you know, and it's like, no, what are we doing? Why are we, you know, why are we making excuses for this? This is something that the Lord can, you know, it shouldn't even be hard, but because I feel like we are so soft and so weak in our faith, because
I think it's just society. Like, our culture is weak.
Yeah.
Our culture, like, just everything is so convenient. Everything is so, like, instant now. You want your food when you get there. Like, even waiting at a restaurant, people get frustrated. You have people serving you. I mean, yeah, you're paying for the food.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, stuff like that is so
I'm thirsty.
petty. I don't know, to me.
Which, I mean, it is the blessings of having
Yeah.
such a country that has been blessed.
Yeah.
But with those blessings comes softness, you know, because everything becomes easier, where you're not having to go and just, you know, work all day just for the food on your table, which
Yeah.
you do. We you know, change that to where you have trades and different things to make money from somebody else, so you can buy food, and you don't all have to have a garden and all these things, which you should, because you need fresh food. But you know, some things you have to discipline yourself. You know, I know we talk about that a lot, but if you just take what you've been given, you know, your life will become extremely soft, because you can allow that to happen, because you don't actually have to go out and work hard. You don't actually have to go out and do all these things that, you know, kind of build character in a way. You can have an extremely easy life, but yet your character and your, you know, your
Just
life will
discipline
kind
in your
of
life, yeah.
kind of fall apart. And you know, and it is I catch myself, you know, you'll go through and see those fast food restaurants and different things like that, and just be like, man, I could just get a milkshake, all these different things, and then you could actually just go for all those dopamine rushes because they feel good, they taste good, they do all that. But then you have to say, well, I can do all these things. I can spend an hour, 2 hours on my phone just watching dumb videos. I can do all these things, and it'd be easy, and these foods would taste great. But I have to discipline myself. I have to, you know, push myself to another level, to a point where, you know, I'm not soft. You know, I have to make sure I don't allow myself to be soft, and you have to make sure you program your mind to think that way, because when you stop and you start compromising, when you start being loose, you start being loose in your faith as well. You know, your physical life also goes into your spiritual life. If you're soft in your physical life, you're probably going to be soft in your spiritual life, and you're probably going to start compromising in so many other areas as well because you don't have any discipline. And you can't say that, oh, my spiritual life it's strong, but everything else, it's not great.
Yeah.
Well, they go hand in hand.
Yeah, because people see your
Exactly.
your physical
People
life.
don't
They
see your
see
spiritual life necessarily, what you're dealing with just you and God. They see what comes of that, the fruits that you've planted from that. And if your fruit's all kind of sad and
withered away.
Wilted fruit.
Looks like it needs water.
then it's almost like, well, I know what you're saying, but your life doesn't really speak that. And I think it's neat just how everything God gives us in His Word, if we'd but actually study it and really learn from it, it goes right in with everything we go through in this life, just day-to-day stuff. The Lord's like, I've got something for that. I have everything you need. Just read these things and actually apply it to your life, and it help you out a whole lot.
Yeah.
I think that's why it's important to have like friends and stuff that encourage you, like to encourage one another, because it's easy. I mean, no matter how many times you read the Bible, you're gonna forget something, or you're gonna grow lax in one area or the other, and it's like that's where it's neat. Like when you got friends around you that is like, oh hey, how's it going, or hey, I just learned, was reading in this scripture or whatever, and kind of sharpen each other in that way.
Whoa.
Because
like
there's
then a verse about that.
Oh yeah.
Iron sharpeneth iron. That was going to be the original name of the podcast, but there was I guess a bunch of them out there. But no, that is so important, because if you don't have those men or women around you that are encouraging, pushing you forward, then it is easy to become lax. Yeah. It is easy to let the standard drop. Well,
right, yeah.
I don't have to get up today
because
I got up yesterday. I don't have to limit my intake of calories now. I can treat myself to a milkshake because I did such and such. Well, those...
You've never done enough to drink a milkshake. I'm just going to let you know.
Yeah.
I don't think that's true.
Milkshake's not
but
my go-to thing, though. So
I like a good
ice
milkshake.
cream. Oh, and donuts.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
okay.
Well, no. I mean, that's okay. So there was
a
video that I had watched that was talking about that. Not really. Whatever.
Round two.
This man is hydration. No, but it was talking about pursuing your happiness, and it was like we focus so much in the world today, and especially with social media and everything right there in front of you. Everybody's always on vacation. They're not, but they post their vacation pics for like 5 weeks after they went, so they're always on vacation. Somebody's always on vacation, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You work hard to take a family trip or something, but then when that's all you see, because nobody posts, hey, I'm at the office just working hard, putting in that grind, that's okay. Yeah, so is everybody else. They post their vacation pics, and so it was just a video. Where is your happy, are you pursuing your happiness? And I'm like, we focus so much on being happy and pursuing, and there's nothing wrong with having joy in your life. Mm-hmm. But when you center that on, you're like, well, that makes me unhappy. Well, so does, going to work every day, but you got to pay the bills. So does getting up in the morning to go to the gym. That makes me sore. It makes me unhappy.
You got to pay the man, so.
But you got to do it. So God never promises us happiness. He does promise joy in the pain, and learning how to have that joy even while you're going through the struggles and the grind of everyday life. That's where you're going to find true happiness. It's like somebody looking for a mate to make them happy. It's like if you're not happy with yourself, you're never going to be happy even when you get married, because you weren't happy being single, So when you
You
can
just bring that other
gain-
person down. And
Yeah,
then that
when you
person's gonna
can-
get tired of your.
tired of your misery
Yeah.
and just create a divide, because if you're not secure and happy in yourself, you're never going to be happy. They're not going to make you happy. And that's, I think that's part of, this creating that discipline and that pursuit of excellence. Excellence isn't created by pursuing happiness.
Mm-hmm. I think it's just finding, joy in getting fulfillment in actually like a job well done. Like at the end of the day, you look back at the work you did, you can find joy in that because for one, you can work.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing, you're providing for what you need. I don't know. It's just like you do get a joy, or if you do something and you work the best of your ability, you're doing that job, as great of a job as you can. Oh my gosh, I'm going into the brain thing again. The last week, my brain was fried. But fried. But anyways, then you can sit back and have joy in that you had a good day's work. You did the best you can, and it's like a fulfillment in that.
Be content.
Yeah. And then and like you go home, you do the work at home, you're making your home the best as it can be. Like you got your animals, you got your garden, you got your stuff going on. And it's like there's a joy in that you are, creating like, and then it's not just the vacations, it's not just the fun times. You can have fun every day.
Yeah,
or like
you can have
joy every day
in the process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the goal. There should be
Yes.
the goal.
But I think that's the biggest thing that one of the biggest things that really makes a difference when you see a Christian truly living out the faith of Christ is when he has just a joy that you can see on him. And there's, quite a few people that I've met, and they just have that. And you see it, and you're like, man, that's not from the world. You can't get that anywhere else but from Christ. And I believe that's one of the biggest, examples or greatest parts of a man's testimony that really shows the world there's something better out there for you than to just live for yourself and just to scrape away at whatever the man gives you and hope for joy at the end of your life once your retirement comes in. At least I could just retire somewhere and finally be at rest, and that's when I'll be happy. But the Lord didn't create all this just for us to suffer the entire time, and then you just get to the end of your life. Well, what was all that for? Well, that was about a waste of time. And
it was to get to your retirement.
And but there's a way Christ gives you that joy, that peace, that long suffering, that just patience, and that's all these virtues that God said you can have these things. Believe in this. I've given you these things at the cross. If you just apply them to your life, these are the blessings that I can give you. And, they make a difference. They make such a difference in someone's life, and you can see it on them. There's a man that I used to do concrete with, and Mr. Lane. But he was one of those guys that he cared about people. Mm-hmm. And you could see it on him. I mean, it was you just put a smile on your face every time you met him because he'd care about, hey, man, what are you doing? Yeah, man, that's awesome. And he actually was genuine. It was real. It wasn't just small talk. And he always had a smile on his face. We'd be slaving away in the burning hot heat in the summertime doing concrete, and he'd just be smiling away. Yeah, man, get some water, man. Here you go. You're doing a great job. All this stuff. I'm like, this is awesome. I like this man. And but there's different people like that that's one of their probably gifts. But also, you can have that. Mm-hmm. It's not just something that only certain people have. I believe it's a gift from God, that God gives you a better way of living than just suffering through this life. And you can work on your weaknesses. Everybody has their strengths. Everybody has their weaknesses, things they're better at and things they're worse at. But God says, be like me. And he was perfect. And not that we're going to necessarily be ever perfect in this life, but through him, we can try. You know, he's given us a perfect blueprint of what that is to look like. And I believe he didn't give it to us to just say, oh, well, that'd be nice if we were like that. But he said, no, try for this. You know, I can give you this. I can help you with the weaknesses that you have, for your impatience, for your anger, for your depression, for your anxiety, for all these different things. I have a cure for that. Just believe on me, trust in me, and I can carry you to that next level, to where people don't see you anymore. They see Christ in you, and that your testimony is made known to all those around you that this is real. His faith was real, and by the end of your life, you won't be ashamed of the life you lived, that it was a real life, that people said, this man truly lived, and he lived out his faith, and it wasn't a shameful life. He wasn't perfect necessarily, but he truly lived out his faith, and it was real to the very end. And that's one of, the things I remind myself constantly is be real to the very end. Live out that faith, that you're not ashamed of the life you lived by the time God calls you home, that you can die with a smile on your face knowing that, yes, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to see my Savior, and I'm not going to be ashamed when I see him, knowing that I failed. I gave up the fight, or I didn't do what he called me to do. I lived for myself. I lived for my own happiness. I chose money over what God had for me. And, because the things, when you truly choose Christ, when you say, Lord, let your will be my will, he'll take you to some places that you never know about, and you may never expect, but he will give you a life that's worth living, and a joy in that life that you won't be ashamed of it, that you will understand at the end of it, it was all worth it. And I'd live 300 lives for Christ if I could, because I believe you will never be ashamed of the life that if you truly give it all to Christ, you will have joy in it, no matter how rough it gets, no matter how hard the trials are. There's a peace that comes with all those things that God gives us to help us get through it. But
he just, I think, like you said, it doesn't matter where you go. I mean, where you go in life, like God can use you at your job, or you at your church, or you in your everyday life with your family, or whatever. If you're seeking to live your life for the Lord, he can use you in any of those places. I used to think like, oh, what if this isn't God's will that I was doing this, or what if this isn't the job that I'm supposed to have, or maybe I should go this way or that way. And I used to be so like, what's my purpose, and what's my, God has this distinct thing that I'm supposed to do. And it wasn't until I was quite a bit older, not till recently, that I just realized that it's not this specific thing that you got to do. If there's maybe some things that God wants you to do, and he'll lead you, but if you're purposing in your heart that you're going to live no matter what for the Lord, he can use whatever job you're in, whatever, as long as, it's in line with scripture. But it don't matter if you're washing dishes in a restaurant, or you're working as a, CEO in a big company. He can use that. It's in how you live your life. And it's not in the little tiny specifics that we get over, think about too much. God can, and then he'll lead you through that. And sometimes you're like, oh, how did I even end up here? And that's when you look back and see how God led you. But when you're in it, and when you're going down the road, sometimes you don't see those little decisions and stuff that, it's just in that one step after the other. And then, I don't know, it's just neat how God works through your life, and you'll have ups and downs, and you'll have mistakes, but it's when you get, start seeking the Lord, he'll show you those mistakes and be like, oh, you're right, Lord. I need to do better in this area. I need to tighten up over here. And then you see other areas like, man, I can use this part of my life where I did mess up. Maybe I can help somebody later on so they don't have to make the same mistake. And that's where I think God gives us people. And that's why we have examples in the Bible. That's why God does parables and stuff, because that's how we learn. Like, that's how we go through life. And you never know who's learning from your mistakes, or learning from your not winnings, your victories. But I don't know. It's just cool. Like God.
Real life stuff.
Yeah. Real life stuff.
Life, liberty.
Speaking
and
of
the pursuit
life stuff
happiness.
and finding yourself in odd situations, never knowing where you're gonna be at. There's
Did he try?
a little story when we were on that.
Thank you for letting me be here.
A little story when we were on the out and about. We were actually up in the mountains at one point. And me, Joey, and Liv, and we were living on the down low, staying out of camera, staying out of sight. And we had looked up and found this hiking trail. So we're like, man, let's go take the hiking trail because it's, incognito. You ain't got to worry about cameras. You ain't got to worry about all that
Ain't no one
stuff.
trying to do all that work. You ain't go see nobody. No.
Yeah, ain't nobody trying to hike 10 miles. And so it was this nice long hike. It was 10 miles.
Total 5 miles.
I think it was 5 miles
there,
up,
5 miles
across
back.
3
Yeah.
peaks.
Yeah.
And so it was up,
and then back.
yeah, 3 peaks. So you're climbing 3 mountains. And so we got our packs on, and we're hiking, and we're
It was
giving
4th of July. We wanted to watch the
Yeah.
fireworks from the top of the mountain. And we're like, we'll just look down and be able to see all the
it'd be
fireworks.
good.
We didn't know that
And,
they were going to look like ants. Every,
Yeah.
we thought maybe they'd be
Oh,
flying
yeah.
up and like exploding in front of you
Yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff. No, they're just these little pew, pew.
It was cool, though.
But,
It was cool, but
anyways,
it
we
was
get after it. We're hiking, and I mean, you're hiking pretty hard. It's not an easy path either. There's some serious steep spots. There's some big old rocks you got to jump and kind of climb in some certain spots, and it was a solid hike. And so we got there in pretty good time. We were like, man, yeah, nobody's gonna be up here if they got to
Set over
hike.
fire.
If they got to
yeah.
hike that, it's only certain serious hikers going to be hiking that. And so they actually had a little little spot up at the very top,
It was like a tower. It
like a
was an
little
old
tower, so you could look over and see the mountain. And we're like, man, this is nice. Look at this. So they built this thing up here. And
So we had our-
we're set up.
Yeah.
We're gonna
Had our
spend the night.
hammocks.
We had 3
And
hammocks up there.
and so we set up the hammocks and everything, and we're sitting there waiting for the fireworks. It's starting to get dark, and so we hear these people start walking up the hill, and they're like, "Oh yeah, man, this is gonna be good." They have
No, I can't
this
believe
big
I made it up here.
they
That's
have
what he
this big
said.
old ice chest, and everything else is a couple.
He's in flip
ladies.
flops.
They all have like the
My
little,
boots just fell
white-
apart
yeah, the
because they
white-
weren't good enough.
yeah, Hawaiian shirts on, short shorts. I mean, these guys are just
Ready for 4th of July.
and a little overweight, and he's like, "Yeah, I got the flip flops on." He's like, "Man, I can't believe I made it up here. This is gonna be
a good hike."
This is gonna be awesome." And you can tell the one older guy, he's already sauced out. I mean, he's been out high on White Claws for
All
a minute.
day, yeah.
Seltzers.
And so we're like scratching our heads, like, what the heck? I
Like,
thought we
man.
did pretty good. These guys all made it all the way
And
up.
they're like,
I'm
not
like,
even
I'm not
breaking
impressed.
up.
I'm disappointed in myself.
I'm kind of disappointed in us. And
That was
so
hard.
they're like, "Oh yeah, this guy, he keeps wanting to come talk to us. He's like, "Oh man, y'all mind if we come hang out and watch the fireworks with y'all?" I'm like, "Yeah, no problem."
We don't own
They
the
have
mountain.
no clue who
Yeah,
we
he
are.
kept asking too. Like,
And
he's
so
like,
he'd come up after like 5 minutes. "Hey man, thank you so much for letting me be here. I just love the fireworks." I'm like, "Oh my goodness, this is
and
gonna be great."
then he spots the hammocks at one point, and I think he goes and lays
He
down
does.
in it.
He goes finds our hammocks. He's laying down in the
His
hammocks.
wife's like, you can't be in their hammocks.
Like, get out of
And
there.
then he's like, "This place is so." I brought my wife up here one day and see the sol. I don't know what the solstice is, but the moon's gonna come out, the sun's gonna go down, and the stars are gonna come out. It's so beautiful.
"Thank you for letting me be here." And we're just like, "Oh my goodness!" But we were dying laughing because you never
Trying
know
not to laugh,
who you're
but
gonna
just
meet
like-
on the top of the mountain. And these
Yeah.
guys are they're living, their best life. We're a bunch of outlaws with bounties on our heads,
no
just
idea.
hanging out.
And let's backtrack though. So they didn't make it up the 3 peaks.
No.
There is a parking lot 300 yards from the peak. That
Yeah.
peak. So
Hey.
you could just park and then walk up a little steep incline, and you
But-
got there.
But they made it those 300 yards.
Oh, they were.
I don't
gassed,
even know
too.
if it was that far. It was probably
It was
maybe
just,
100 yards.
right around the corner.
Right around
Yeah.
the corner. We had no clue you could drive all the way up
But
there.
he was carrying an ice chest. Y'all were just
That's
carrying
true.
backpacks.
But we thought it was hilarious because we
Yeah,
thought
he
we
kept
did
coming
good.
up.
Every
The sun will come out, the
five
moon
or
will come
10
out.
minutes.
And he was like weeping.
It's like emotional. It was so
Tears to
much
his
for.
eyes.
like
Best
like
4th of
Rocky.
July ever.
All right, we're leaving. We're leaving right now. And his wife's like, "Why are we leaving?" He's like, "We're gone. I'm so sorry." And he's just there. She's like, "I don't want to leave."
He starts packing up their stuff at one point, like, "Oh, I'm gonna go now," and they're like, "We just got here."
Hey,
He's funny. It was a good time.
I like him. I wonder what he's doing.
I don't know what he's doing now, but
Probably just being an
he's
animal.
living his best life.
But
Hey.
speaking of the hike, speaking of being preparedness.
prepared.
So Life Straw makes a little satchel. And so I carry
Not
this
the
thing on me
colostomy
at
bag.
all times. I hook it on my belt. I mean, the entire time we were on the run, I had this little water pack on me. I used it in every mountain we ever went in. I used it in little creeks. I mean, and one time it came in super good, handy use, and we were all dying of dehydration.
Yeah, we all ran out of water, and all
And
we
we filled that thing up, squeezed it into the other bottles, and it saved our lives.
Yeah.
Is that why
Go
you
Life Straw.
probably
always carry around just a couple of Zephyrs? So
Zephyrs, yeah.
just in case.
Just in case you
Yeah.
get thirsty.
That's
But
my-
also
my
not being
drop pouch.
prepared is the non
the suck.
waterproof tent, one man tent that
No, it is waterproof.
Well,
it's
oh.
100% waterproof.
Meaning,
oh yeah.
suffocate.
So it's either a bag full of water or you can't breathe.
So Joey didn't grow up hiking and camping and backpacking, and so his first hike, we take him on
We
a
did 10 miles.
13-mile hike.
13.
It was 13 miles on probably one of the steepest hikes I've ever been on. And I hadn't done a lot of hiking, but we've done quite a bit. And it was a pretty
was a
tough
steep
trail.
one.
It was pretty steep, just one of those not just your average cutbacks. It was just straight up the mountain.
Was it like the
Is it-
LeConte,
It,
Mount LeConte when we went up?
Oh,
No, it was probably worse than that.
something
Yeah,
along
it
those
was
worse than that.
But anywho,
Not to give location.
But
Yeah.
but
crazy part
Tell
though.
the story.
So the hike was like she said, very steep, and I had Johnny in front of me. So I'm thinking, path is clear for most of this. Bam, spider web in the face, spider web in the face. I'm like, are they just missing my man and catching me with every single one of them? Oh
no,
my
you'd
goodness.
see him, and you kind of just duck, get out of the
Oh
way.
my goodness! But so that was the whole hiking up there. But so we get up there and we're setting up they brought hammocks. What I should have brought probably, but I brought my 1-person tent because it was nice, and I was like, oh, it's completely waterproof. And then I'm sitting in it, and I zip it all the way up, and I had put it in this lush grass because my man Johnny here was like, oh, that's probably a nice soft spot. So.
oh, it had rained all
Oh,
day.
it was raining
too.
the whole time.
Oh,
So we
yeah,
were soaking
man.
wet getting up there. Blisters, everything, because your shoes are wet all day long. It had poured rain.
She had put
But
bags
it
in her
stopped.
boots.
Yeah, it stopped just enough for us to set up
Cook,
camp.
eat.
We had enough time to light a fire and eat and everything, and we were getting ready to go to sleep, all set up our stuff.
So I set this thing up in the nice lush grass, which I guess you should know that, hey, if it's nice and lush, and then the water's probably
probably
there a
water.
lot. But I zip it all the way up, and then I'm dying. I notice you can't breathe, so I unzip it, and then water starts pouring into my tent, and I'm just sitting there.
Oh, because as soon as we go to
Oh, it
sleep,
starts
as
flooding.
soon as we get in our hammocks, it just
Downpour.
ferocious downpour. Yeah.
A ferocious
A
down?
Ferociously
Rain
That's
downpour.
serious.
Torrential
Torrential.
downpour.
Ferocious is
Words.
better word.
The ferocious down.
Ferocious. I like
Expialidocious,
that.
ferociously downpouring. So it's just pouring, water's getting in. I'm trying not to wake them up. I'm just trying to be, like the man. I'm just gonna suffer through this. I'm gonna make. But I mean, it's
water.
like 32 degrees. It should be snowing, but it's somehow still raining. And so I'm sitting there. I take my blanket off and I put it underneath me, so it's seeping, it's drying all the water up, and I'm like laying on top of my blanket, and I'm just freezing to death. So eventually, I just stand up and I put it over my whole body, like a trash bag, and I'm just sitting in it. And I'm just sitting there going, this is so miserable. And I check my watch. I'm like, 3 a.m. Okay, only got 4 more hours just standing right here.
The whole time, like, we're awake because we can hear him shuffling. It's kind of like just torrential downpours, so you're a little bit awake anyways. You can't really sleep very well. But we were looking out and we could see his silhouette, like. He's here. Because
he'd turn his little light on and you could see his body.
Yeah, he'd like flash on his headlamp so that he would like when he was moving spots. And so he's just standing there and we're like, man, that poor guy. Like, should we go out there and help him?
No, they don't ever help.
No.
Eventually,
next thing we know, he like tap on the. We had like a the tarp over top of our hammocks, and he's like. Guys,
I think I'm gonna freeze to death.
I think I'm about to die.
We're like, dang, dude, what are you doing?
Hey, buddy, come on.
So, anyways, we survived the night.
Yeah, doubling up into some of the hammocks, and we got it dried, changed clothes and stuff. But it was probably the saddest thing. Like he had like a melted puppy. Like, God, could I like bring them in? They're
like
cold.
when you don't want to wake your parents up and you're sitting there as a bed as a kid. You're like,
that's exactly what it's like. I had a bad dream.
Make it stop.
It's so miserable.
That's miserable.
It's those learning situations that you can go back and laugh.
He's
about.
had a lot of good camping experiences with us. When we went to the island,
pooping pearls,
and we went island camping, and my sister, she's got like this. It's like coconut oil stuff. That it gives you a better tan, and she gives it to Joe, and Joe's at the time working in the shop, pretty white.
He looks like man.
And so she's like, "Hey man, put this on. It's like sunscreen."
Well, it does have some UV protection.
Absolutely.
It had zero UV.
It's like he's
magnification
he's rubbing himself in butter. Just absolutely roast some man.
No, he was
I'm a hog. I'm all honey glazed and ready for the oven. It's
He came out that experience looking like a tomato.
No, he looked the next day. He's sitting there with a towel over his head, just miserable.
Yeah, because we weren't done camping.
And then he's like, "Where do we go to the bathroom?" We're like, "Oh, out in the woods over there." And so in the beach, when you go. There's these like petrified sand spurs. It's not normal
nasty.
sand spurs like we have it everywhere else. On the beach, they get petrified
up north,
and
they don't
they're
even
very
really have
long.
sand spurs.
Florida has sand spurs and they're horrible.
This was pre-turning into a lobster. So
Gabe
told me, he's like, they're out there, man. You're going to want to put your shoes or your sandals on before you. And I was like, I ain't no baby. I'm scared of that stuff, bro. What you talking about? And so I sprint. I mean, I run. I take 10 steps into them before I'm like, oh my goodness.
They are nasty. They're like getting stung by wasps. They just they have barbs and just they sting.
So I think I hollered back like, throw my sandals.
I'm stuck. Throw me my gun so I can shoot myself.
Someone's gonna need relief.
No, because there's different types of sand spurs, and those are the ones that only have like 2 or 3 prongs. They're all almost like caltrops, where you just once they go in, they're
stuck.
They're all the way in, and you can shake your foot, and they're not coming off. So
you got sticks of death.
Literally sit there. You got to get down and pick them all out, but then when you get down, they get in your arm. Yeah, it's miserable.
Yeah, it's rough.
And I think I was like, man, thanks, Adam. Thorns and thistles.
God, dang, Adam.
Moral of the story is, go
when
camping.
Your good friend tells
Try
you,
out your
hey,
stuff.
Put your shoes on.
That's right.
Don't just think, oh, I'm prepared. I'm ready. If things go down or if I need to, I can survive.
Because I have all this stuff.
Unless you use your stuff, unless you practice, you're going to have a little bit more miserable time if you work out the situation.
You could have died that night. I think, like, I asked Johnny, if you were by yourself, I was like, what would you do? And I was like, the only thing we could come with is you start hiking, get your body temperature up. You pack everything up, and you just hiking for the next few hours until the sun comes out.
Did you not have any more clothes, or were you?
I had more clothes. I changed.
Unless you had a dry
we did change.
Because once you stood up in the tent, if you could, have that secure trash bag around you, then you could have maybe changed.
Poke some holes in it, just turn off.
No, just use that as like a shelter
Poncho.
to change.
Yeah.
Put some fresh clothes, and then you may not have froze to
And
death.
I think the crazy part is that little
Because-
tent is like a $200 and something tent.
I don't know
was-
that the
it
whole
was the
design
most
of that makes no sense to me.
Miserable thing.
Yeah,
in the
whoever
world.
came up with that, no. Because if you can't zip it all the way up and breathe, what's the point?
You can
I think
zip
it's
up the
too.
netting.
It's probably one of those winter ones that is designed
Still though, no.
because I'm sure some of the oxygen seeps out, but it's designed to keep it insulated a little bit from your body temperature heating up. So it's probably designed to keep you warm, not to suffocate. I don't think
It says in it, do not zip all the way up.
Oh.
You will die
Yeah,
of
it's,
suffocation.
Well, then-
it's faulty all the way around. Anyway,
Faulty equipment.
Yeah, no, and
hammocks with
Well, then, did
screen
you zip it all the
mosquito
way
net
up?
is the way to go.
Oh,
That is
okay.
true.
Well, see, he didn't follow the instructions. He
Simple.
zipped it
well,
all
I
the way
didn't
up.
ever use it
Unless-
until that.
But I mean,
Unless
what's
you're
the
in the-
point of zipping it all the way up and you're just gonna get soaking wet? Like if the water
I think
was
it's
just
designed
cold.
like if you're out
Oh,
west or
well, you're not
something,
supposed
never
you
get
never put a
watered.
tent up in a puddle. Like
There wasn't a puddle there when I put it there.
I know, but I'm
Once
just
the
saying.
torrential downpour comes.
Anyways, okay.
Happy
In
Mother's
conclusion,
Day.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Aw.
Yeah. That's
We were
awesome.
gonna do a Mother's Day episode
and we will
for all the the
think we will.
importance of the feminine, the importance of
Of the feminines. Of the importance of women and
Yes.
and the pivotal roles they
Pivotal,
play in
yeah.
life, in family, in different
Everything,
aspects.
every aspect.
Yeah.
there'll be a future podcast. but
Maybe
that's fine.
Yeah.
we won't even be here. Me, Johnny, and Gabe gone, and we'll just have
do
the
our
bring
women.
in-
women.
All the ladies.
All
maybe
the
Lem
women.
all
can
feminine.
In a
bring
little
in
special
some
Daughters of
women's-
the Warrior episode.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Oh, wow.
Wow,
Man.
we may have just come up with words.
That was all
the
right
Diddy
there.
trial did start the other day
Wow,
too.
you went from
Mother's
Mother's Day to Diddy trial.
Johnny's gone. He's out. It's over.
Alrighty. Thank y'all
Anyways.
so much for watching. We'll catch y'all on the next one.
What?
Oh, I thought we were done.